call. So to start, I'm sharing my screen. Okay, sorry. Before Okay, good evening, everyone. Once again, thank you for joining our masterclass AI, generative AI with data analysis, generative AI. Myself, I'm the founder of Zummit Africa. I love to build, I love fun, I love life. I'm guided by a golden rule. I like to do to people what I want them to do to me, and I also love people a lot. I'm a people person. I rather make sure everyone around me is comfortable at my own inconvenience. That's one of my strengths. So I'm also an AI developer. I'm building Data Rango, a unified platform to learn AI and data skills. I'm also a member of the International Law Association, board member there in the Committee of AI and New Technologies. And I also serve as a fractional CEO for some companies where I consult. So that's a little about me. I had to rush that out because I'm not the focus here today. So we'll be discussing data analysis, generative AI. To start, I would like to give us a little background on generative AI. I think we might have a slideshow. Yeah, so just a little history on artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, as we know, did not come out with ChatGPT. Artificial intelligence has been a thing for a very long time. It's the earliest of times when they're discussing AI was in 1960s, 1959, an analytical engine. And after then, there's been serious progression from AI to machine learning to deep learning. So these three words, most times they are usually misconstrued. People feel that maybe they are the same thing, they're one and all, while they all mean similar thing, but they have little slight difference. So I'll use an illustration to help us explain. So we can see the circles and the ovals here. We have AI, machine learning, and deep learning into each other. So AI is basically something you can do and you are automating it, making a machine do it for you or programming something to do it for you. So I'll give an example. You turn on your lights in your house by 6 p.m. in the evening because it's getting dark. Every day by 6 p.m. you turn on the lights in your house. And by 9 in the evening, you turn off the lights in the house because okay, it's now daylight and you can see. You can program a system, a machine to turn on the lights and turn off the lights automatically, artificially. That's artificial intelligence. You programmed it to work that way. So what about machine learning? How is machine learning different from AI? While machine learning is under AI, but machine learning has to do with data, right? So you are basically telling the system or an algorithm that, see, for the past 1 year, I've turned on my lights by 6 p.m. in the evening and I've turned it off by 9 a.m. in the morning. You give it that data and you are showing it that with the data you're giving to it, it can turn it and try to understand that, okay, it seems by 6 p.m. I should turn on the lights. So you're not explicitly telling it to turn on the lights, but it's predicting that by 6 p.m. you should turn on the lights and by 9 a.m. you should turn off the lights. That's machine learning. It's now using more of data and thinking and predicting things on its own. Then what about deep learning? Deep learning is like a deeper area of it. So deep learning is built on the way humans think, neural networks, our brains. And it's deep because there are different layers of neural networks. So it goes down different layers and they train it to really, really understand things. So back to our analogy, the light switching on and off. So machine learning, you've trained it, it's switch off light by 6, switch it on by 6, switch off by 9. How does deep learning then work? So imagine that it's raining and it's cloudy. By 9 a.m. in the morning, if it's raining and cloudy, the house will be dark because there's no light coming in, there's no daylight coming in. So how can a smart system understand that at this point in time, this light should be on? So that's where deep learning comes in. Your training will not just the time you're on and offing the lights, also environmental parameters, climate parameters. You're involving a lot of things into the data you're training with. You're also considering, okay, are people moving around in the house by 6 a.m., 6 a.m. that you want to 6 p.m. you turn on the light? Are people actually in the house? So if you traveled, will it still be on the light by 6? So you're now giving it human data. Okay, sensor is somebody in the house. Do they need light? So with all this, deep learning is able to then understand that okay, I don't think I need to turn on the light. So this is now becoming a more intelligent system. So gradually we keep on building and building, and with more advancements, there are more and more algorithms. So before now, people did not know about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is based on large language models. So large language models have been trained with so much text data and so much data that from the internet that it can then reason and think and generate text, predict new text, and generate this text. Before now, before ChatGPT, people did not really know about LLM, but there was something like generative AI. It was called generative adversarial networks. So you give it an example and ask it to duplicate what you give to it. But now you can basically just prompt, ask ChatGPT or Claude AI, can you design a logo for me? I want you to talk about dental stuff, and the AI is going to give you a logo with teeth probably, and help you to use some nice fonts to design a logo for you without having to write any code. This is how far AI is going, and they're on track to general intelligence. Artificial general intelligence (AGI) is a more robust and more intelligent AI system that they are saying could practically do what a human can do. So I think there was an instance where they said there is an AI CEO in a company and a startup. Well, it's possible that they can build a machine to actually help CEOs to perform better, but can an AI actually perform the role of a CEO in a company and do it competently? It can't, because a CEO's job is more than just a mechanical job. You need to have the human part of it. You are hiring somebody. It's not just about skills, it's about understanding what kind of person is this person. If he's very, very skillful but an arrogant person, AI would not decipher that. But you as the CEO, this arrogant person will cause a lot of troubles in the company. So, will AI remove humans from the whole picture? Definitely it will not. But will it help humans to get better? Definitely will help humans to get better. So this is just like a summary of what AI is doing and how it is helping us, to carry out our regular activities. So going to the subject for today, we'll be talking about how we can use AI or generative AI to analyze our data, right? And here's a problem statement. So let me stop learning, because we notice that, let me stop presenting. So we notice a lot of people want to learn, right? But sometimes, somehow, there's always discouragement. The social media is making people, lose concentration. So we started thinking of how best can we make people learn and enjoy learning, right? So we built a system called Data Rank. I'll drop the link or the call here. Datarango.com. Yes, so on datarango.com, you can actually go and learn AI. There's a structured learning path for you there, and you can play games to help you to help you understand interactively what you're learning. So that's the link there. Let me go back to share my screen. Yes, so this is Datarango. I'm going to log in to see the question we're talking about, the problem we want to solve today on AI, and then we go to the solution, how we solved it. So I'm logging in on Datarango. Yes, so on my dashboard, I've logged in now, and I'm going to Mystery Lab. So we have a problem on Mystery Lab, AI data analyst. So this problem is many organizations and individuals possess large volume of structured data that is underutilized. Let me go to the screen. That's underutilized due to the complexity of traditional data analysis methods. This leads to a significant gap between the availability of data and the ability to extract meaningful insights from it. Existing data analysis tools often require specialized technical knowledge, limiting their accessibility to small subset of users. Consequently, there is a critical need for a user-friendly system that can bridge the gap between human language and complex data structures, enabling individuals to derive actionable insights through natural language interaction. So as a machine learning engineer, you are expected to develop a solution to help analyze the weekly sales data of Rango company. Also, your AI model should be able to generate meaningful plots for the stakeholders to see projection of weekly sales. So this is the problem that I want to solve with generative AI, right, for the stakeholders. And we'll be using some certain tools. We will not go into deep coding because we mentioned that even if you're not a developer, you don't code, we would make sure it's easy for you to understand. So one of the basic languages for any coding, anything you want to do with AI is Python, right? If you're going to write any code at all, it's most likely Python because of the environment. You have a lot of people building different stuff to help you simplify your building. So with large language model, we'll be using OpenAI. We'll be using Pandas and Google Colab. Let me just escape to show you what Google Colab is. So this is Google Colab. Google Colab is a development environment built by Google to help people to write code to experiment basically. So you want to quickly jump on something, you have an idea, you want to quickly write code. You don't have the strength to start downloading VS Code, installing many dependencies and all of that. So you could just go to Google Colab and write your code and run your code. They have GPUs for you to use on the platform. So I will not be running the code here due to some reasons. We don't want to go too technical for our guests on the platform on the call today. Let's admit these ones. All right, so going back to our slide, we'll need Google Colab. So this is our solution, right? So you, the user, you've been asked that question to deliver a solution, a generative AI solution that helps you to analyze your data. So we'll be using OpenAI. I mentioned LLM, large language models. OpenAI has built their large language model and made it possible for other users to use their APIs, application programming interface. So we can collect, use their large language model on our own small subset of data, right? We use the embeddings and all of that. We'll explain embeddings later. So Pandas AI is also a library that will help us to ask questions, analytic questions in English, and it will analyze the question and give us solution, graphical solutions and all of that. Then finally it gives us the results. So the question from you, the user, OpenAI, your question is going to OpenAI where it's embedding the question and making it easy for computer to understand. Then Pandas AI is turning it and giving us the results. Okay, so I think I've showed the step how it goes, and I think we have. Do we have a question? Sorry, let me go back to. Do we have any question? I think that I heard. Okay, Daniel is raising his hand for a question. Daniel, you can go ahead with your question, please. Okay, I think.
Sorry, it's a mistake. A mistake.
Okay. So if you have any questions at all, drop them on the chat. Then we go back to it later and try to respond as easy and succinctly as we can after the presentation. We'll also be having a demo. So going back to our slide. So the first thing we're going to do is import the libraries that we need. Right. So when scoping any project, any project at all, if it is tech project, if it is a non-tech project, engineering project, you always want to scope a project. You want to check out for the best tools that you need to solve the problem while considering cost and scalability. So it applies in tech as well. When you have a problem, you have to consider, okay, am I doing this for experimentation? Am I doing this for production? Am I doing this for, to show to stakeholders? When you're building for production, you want to be very, very careful so that your system is always up and running. But if you're building for experimentation, like this call that we built this solution for this call, it's experimental. So you could use open source tools that are cheap. We're using OpenAI now. It's not too cheap. It's very cheap. But by the time you start, asking a lot of questions, then you start consuming a lot of money. So those are factors you want to consider. So we have some libraries we're installing, Pandas AI. We show that in our workflow. We have OpenAI as well. We install those. Then we import from these libraries that we've installed. We import certain functions, basically, like or methods. So we have chat OpenAI. We have .env to secure our system. So when you're also building with tools like OpenAI, they give you a secret key. You have to make sure that key is secret. So I just showed my Google Colab, right? So if I share that Google Colab with other people on the call and they see my secret key, they could use that key to hack my system and start asking questions and using my credits, right? And the dollar rates right now. So OpenAI you pay in dollars to actually use their APIs. So you want to secure your APIs anytime you're building something for production. So we're moving on to the next slide. So in this data set, in this solution we did, we're using the Nigerian data sets. So Nigerian housing data set that we were able to get from on the open source. And basically how many lines of code? About 10 lines of code, imported response parser, Google Colab user data for our keys. Then the large language model we're using is OpenAI, and we're using GPT 3.5 Turbo. So GPT 3.5 Turbo is what was responsible for ChatGPT last year. Early last year, ChatGPT was running on GPT 3.5 Turbo. But right now, if you are using paid version of OpenAI or ChatGPT, they are using a more advanced model that's trained on billions of parameters. So the more they update their systems, the more training data that they use, and the either costly or cheaper it becomes. So we're using ChatGPT 3.5, GPT 3.5 Turbo for the model, and we have collected our data here. We've downloaded the data, the Nigerian housing data CSV file on our system, and we're uploading it here. And this is as simple as it goes. We've already called our data, and the next is asking questions of it. So the query engine, we've asked the question, can you give a brief summary of these data sets? So our question is in English. Imagine when you have a huge data set, you just upload it to a platform and you're asking questions in English. This is what generative AI is helping us to do. Before now, you need a data analyst who understands data, who understands maybe SQL, maybe Excel. They have to be really good to use that. But with ChatGPT, you can basically upload a data set and ask it questions. Okay, what is this data about? And it gives you responses. So we've asked it, and this data set contains information about real estate properties, including number of bedrooms, bathrooms, toilets, parking spaces, etc. So that's what the data is all about. So we want to ask it another question yet. Can you plot a bar chart showing different states and house prices? We've also asked it to use Seaborn. Seaborn is also a library, a Python library that helps to visualize your data. So we can see it here that's run a chart for us, a bar chart, and we can see that Lagos State has the highest amount of houses. Of course, the next is Abuja. What other states do we have here? We have rivers, and I believe that this data is real because if we look at the population in Nigeria, the hotspot is Lagos, then Abuja. All right, so I was saying before, let me go back to the previous slide. So I was just sharing how succinct the code is. We didn't have to write so long a code. We will share this notebook with anyone who wants to see how the code is and maybe experiment with the code on their own. So we can see we just imported from the libraries we imported, we just called out some functions that we use, a query engine, and added some parameters into the function, right? So we're using Nigerian data housing data sets, and we're then going to ask a couple of questions. And something that makes us unique is when we ask questions, we have an idea of what it would be like, especially when it comes to Nigerian housing system. So we asked it to give a brief summary of the data set. Like we said, it's a Nigerian housing data set. So it has said this data set contains information about real estate properties, including number of bedrooms, bathrooms, toilets, parking spaces, etc. The next question we've asked is, can you plot a bar chart showing different states and house price using Seaborn? So I was mentioning Seaborn is a Python library that is used to visualize your data. And it has done that for us here. So I was analyzing the data. It has given us the result, but how can we know if this result is correct, right? So, we use our normal head knowledge. So I think from here we can see that this is actually correct because logically Lagos State will have the most amount of houses in Nigeria, followed by Abuja. Then we have Rivers, Port Harcourt, we have Delta, we have Borno is also here. We have a lot of houses there. So this is actually from the data that was gotten. Another thing that is very important is our data sets, right? So while we know that Lagos State has the highest amount of houses and population in Nigeria, or at least houses in Nigeria, maybe Kano is also very big there. One thing we should also know is that if the data we collected for this model is not does not include houses in Lagos, it not automatically give us results on Lagos. It only give us results from the data we collected for this project itself. So we want to be very careful that the data, whatever data we're going to use for our systems, is all inclusive. We want to check that it is not too skewed, it's not having outliers, so it will help us to have the best results when we are working on any data. So moving on to the next slide. Okay, we also asked, I need an explorative data visualization of the data sets. So it has just showed some things to help us understand how data is skewed from Lagos to Abuja rivers. You can see the downward trend of houses and you know. So we'll move on to a live demo. The um the model that we just displayed right now, the model with the code we just showed right now is all that we deployed it, and you can see it here. We deployed it with Streamlit. Streamlit is also a platform an open source platform that helps AI and data scientists to build and host their models on the cloud so that people can access it. So I think I will drop this link here. I will drop the link of this model we built with that short line of code on for anyone who wants to add their own data and experiment with it. Okay, so okay, we've added everyone on the waiting room. So the link to to this system is already on the call here. The link to the system is already on this call. So let's go right to our experimentation with the data. So I want to browse a document on my system. Let's check data analysis sheet. So this is data analysis generative AI. So I did not name the I didn't add a proper descriptive name to to the file I am uploading. Is this uploaded a file? It's here to upload a file. And fresh browse file. Okay, fine. So we've uploaded our data and we didn't give it any name. Data analysis generative AI is the name of that document. But if you look at what the Streamlit app does is once we upload our data to the system, it shows us a summary of what the data is like. So we can scroll and see what data is about. So from the description and the data, the first column here, we can see invoice number, stock code, description, quantity, invoice date. So naturally, we can begin to think that I think this data is a housing, is a sales data, right? This data is a sales data. To make this more interactive, data, drop your questions and John will read them out to me. So we'll ask
Yeah.
the questions. So let me go back to screen, then I would give an example of what we mean. So the first question we'll ask is what is this data all about? So I'm going to ask, model is running. Remember we said it's running. First, we embedded the text. So embedding is a way of converting text here. That's what is data all about. It's a way of converting these no words to numbers, right? So it's it's an AI stuff that we've done. So we embed the what's the name? The text to numbers, then we're able to then understand what our computers can then understand what we're asking. They call it embedding. Uh, so we've asked what data about, and it has basically given us a chart of the data. This is difficult to understand. I think we need to break down the question. We need to break down the question. Can you explain the details of this of this case running? Also, no plot generated pandas. What's happening to our AI system here? Okay, so we're asking the question. I'm asking this question based on my knowledge of the data. Our system is having some malfunctioning. I don't understand why that's happening right now on the call. It wants to fall my hand, but I hope it comes back to its senses. This is one reason why AI will not take over humans, because it is not. It is always it's technology that can fall your hand anytime. Okay, so ask the question now, and it has said the product with the highest amount of sales is Blue Dinner Wine Clock with sales of 1,500. I think this should be pounds, and because the location is in France or euros, I think the location is in France, so this should be in euros, right? So, well, how do we know if this is actually correct? Blue Dinner Wine Wall Clock. So, why is Blue Dinner Wall Clock with the highest amount of sales? Is it because it's costly or because there were so many of it that was being sold? So, let us understand that as well. How much is a Blue Dinner Wall Clock? So these are analytical questions that, as a data analyst, you have to understand so that when you're using AI, it will not give you wrong information, or it will give you information and you don't read it wrongly. So let's see if our system is actually if not generated. So 8.5 is saying the price for the wall clock is 8.5. I think I might have to open this in a sheet just to be sure that we're not giving a um wrong response for us to confirm if our AI is correct. So please give me a second to open a sheet. Stop sharing. Okay, so I'm going to upload the sheet to my Google Sheets. Please a second, let me get that out. All right, so I've opened that sheet now. Let me go back to share my screen so we can look at the sheet directly from share. Now, this is the sheet where we have all the sales that we asked our AI for. So let's find Blue Dinner. Okay, so we can see Blue Dinner wall clock on our sheet. Let me expand this. So I was searching for Blue Dinner wall clock here. And price. So we can see the quantity, the unit price. It's not ideal, we can see this. So we asked initially how much was the amount of sales for the blue dinner clock, the highest product sales dinner. So to confirm if our AI is correct, we have item 210 and the units, I think the units, the quantity was 2. So we had 2 sales and the unit price for blue dinner clock, then 210, unit price is 8.5. So we got the correct answer for pricing of the system. I think I'm sharing my screen, right?
Yeah, your screen can show.
Yes.
Seeing you, sir.
So we got the pricing of the blue dinner clock, 8.5 for the price. But was this the highest sales that was recorded? Definitely not. So our AI here seems to have hallucinated, saying that we sold 1,500 of that because we said we saw only 2 sales and at 8.5. So 8.5 times 2 is 17. So it was definitely not mathematical issue. So let's ask another question here. So there's another thing about AI that I would like to mention called hallucination. So I remember when I was doing my project in my final year project in school, and my supervisor asked me for more references, and I, I was not able to find more. Like I was too lazy basically to go and start looking for more references. Dr. Dele is on the call, but I think I will not be punished for this. Right. So my supervisor asked me to get more references, and I was too lazy to go and start looking for references. So what I just did was I asked ChatGPT, okay, this is my topic, and can you give me references on this topic? And guess what? ChatGPT gave me about 4 references, and I was very happy that I have references that I can give to my supervisor. So I added them to my data, up to my project work, and I got to before submitting it to my supervisor. I know she's a very studious person. She reads a lot, so she might ask me questions based on the references I give to her. So for the sake of thoroughness, I went to Google Scholar to check these references I've given to my Oga. Would are they correct? What are they even talking about? And guess what? I just copied the name of the title of those projects on Google Scholar and searched, and I didn't find any of these references there. But if you see the way that ChatGPT gave me those references, I thought that they were actual real references. So one thing that AI does at the moment is hallucination. So you could ask it a question. It doesn't have any response to you for you, but it hallucinates. It just cooks up something that is not real and makes it seem so real. So if you ask it any question that you don't know anything about and you don't know how to fact check if it's correct, it will basically it could give you a very wrong and that could put you in trouble, right? So this is we talked about how you could use AI, generative AI. So whenever you're using generative AI to prepare content and whatever it is you're doing, you want to ensure you are fact checking before you use whatever it gives to you. So if it tells you that Obama is the president of Nigeria, you have to go and check, is this correct? Otherwise, it could hallucinate and give you wrong information. So that's one of the downsides of AI that they are working hard to remove. Someone's raising their hand. So I will go back to sharing our AI system. It has been acting up for past few questions. It has not done very well. Why? Okay, so let me share my screen again. So I would like, if there are any questions that we have in the audience that would like to ask the AI based on the sales data. So I don't know if anyone on the call has actually maybe been a salesperson before or manages, data in their work. What kind of questions would you ask if you're a manager of a company that sells, groceries or basically a supermarket? If you have the sales data, what would you ask that data to help your company to move forward? The essence of AI, using AI, is to help you to reduce the amount of stress that you do to churn your data and ask questions and get better insights. So If you have any questions, okay, Mr. Lawyer has a question. Please, can you type in your question, or maybe just say it out and we'll ask our system.
Oh, okay. I prefer to say that. Thank you. So, for me, if I run a business and I want to ask a question, one of the major questions I would like is to compare my sales from X month to Y month. So, sales last month compared to this month, what is any improvement? I could pick a product to say for this particular product, as the sales been for the last 3 months. So the sales going up, the sales coming down. I just want to see a trend. So basically trend analysis.
Beautiful. So I think I picked a couple of questions from your from your prompts. So trend analysis, what product is selling the most. So let's check. Can you draw a trend, a sales trend from the data? So I hope it gives us something reasonable. They would also want to ask what days had the best sales. Then we would also as an analytical person, if you ask what days had the best sales and you're seeing maybe something towards December, you know, okay, because it's festive period, right? Mr. John, what's happening? Our AI is misbehaving. Is there any issue?
Um, I think sometimes you might just have to refresh it at times. So Streamlit has its ways is kind of like a log.
Yes.
So sometimes you might just have to refresh then upload again because it's
Let me-
Streamlit. So Streamlit is like a lightweight interface like that. It's
Okay,
not
so
like robust backend.
thank you. So, initially, what we're presenting, we mentioned if you are building a project, you want to check scope. What tool is the best to to deliver the project? We talked about experimentation, which we're doing here. So we didn't go out for high-end solutions where we deploy with maybe AWS or Google. We're deploying with Streamlit, which is a free environment. So we could always have downsides there. So let's ask the question again. I've refreshed. Can you draw a sales trend in the data? Okay, I hope the refreshing doesn't solve the problem. We have yet the same problem. This is very sad. AI has decided to disappoint us today. Soon, I don't know what's wrong with it. So let me go to the call and stop presenting. Okay, so based on what we've said so far, I don't know, do we have any questions regarding AI, how we can use it, and use cases? Any question at all, then we can actually answer those questions. Our AI has decided to give us some problems today. So one question I remember people have asked is how do you personalize your AI when you're writing, especially as a content creator, as a writer? How do you personalize it? So I had an experience with one of our developers in Africa. So there's something they call testing and documentation. So when you write your code, you want to test it, and you also want to document. So there is Amazon Q. Amazon built a system that an AI that helps to ask questions on code, and it can, if you have any questions regarding code, it can answer for you. So what he did is he wrote his code and he needed test cases. So he practically uploaded all his code on the AI system and asked it to create test cases for him. And so he added those, and the test cases were beyond his imagination. Like on his own, he would not have any corner cases that the AI was able to give to him. So by the time he built his system, it became more scalable system. It was hardly errors because he has been able to check on every corner cases that could happen. So what I mean by corner case, okay, I'll answer that question soon. What I mean by corner cases, humans, if you give somebody a field, like, what's your name, what's your surname, what's your age, humans you can't predict what they can do, right? So the human might put name Jonathan, surname, they may age. Instead of putting 29, he might spell 29 like TWENT. But that field you're expecting a number. So if you don't put a test for that case and you deploy your code to production, it could break your system. So if someone puts 29 instead of puts 29 like TWENTY, instead of 29, it can break down your system. So what we've done in as developers is we create test cases to ensure that someone does not do that, right? So if the person is typing TWENT, a number field is adding text there, we can send a message that only number required, right? So those are corner cases that one could think when you're building your solution. So what he did was he just put all his code in AWS Amazon Q, and he was able to get test cases to help him his code. But when it came to documentation, when he put his code and asked AI to give him a proper documentation, AI just gave him something that is very, very difficult to understand. Even himself, he didn't understand documentation. So we're discussing, okay, how do I want to go about this? That the documentation is more presentable, I understand it more, right? So I said, okay, have you done this before? Do you have any documentation you've written on your code? So bring that code, bring documentation, upload it there, then ask it to do the same thing that you've done on the code you're giving to it. So when he did that, he was able to get proper documentation that suited his own style of documenting. So he has personalized his AI. So if you are writing anything at all with AI, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and you want to personalize it, don't just ask it a question. Give it examples. They call it prompt engineering. Give it examples of what you want, then give it how you do this thing that you want in the past, then tell it to do something similar to what you've done. So when you do that, you would notice that the responses it gives to you is more refined, is more like what you've done. So if you're a writer, you've written many articles before now, and you need AI to help you write more. You have the idea, you want it to give you more context. Give it some of your writings and tell it to write just like your writing style. You notice that your AI will become more personalized. So we have a question from the audience. Daniel says, can generative AI work with scientific analysis as well as it does for financial analysis? So for scientific analysis, I was really, really thinking about this while preparing for this masterclass. For scientific analysis, yes, the answer is yes, it works. In fact, OpenAI just announced a paid version of their system that they will charge you $200, right? Is it per annum or per month? I can't really recall how much, but it was recently that they released it. So if you are a scientific researcher, you can use it to ask questions. It has been trained with serious scientific research. It gives you very, very nice answers. But going back to where I was coming from, if you're using maybe a very cheap version of AI, does it work for you? It could work, but here are the downsides that I thought about. Scientific research is different. For instance, you are doing an issue on plants. You want to understand the chlorophyll content of the plants. You want to understand the carbon content. I'm just going scientifically, right? The protein content of the plants. If you have 100 plants and you give it to you and you give it the data based on the 100 plants, and you ask it for another plant, you give it a sample of another plant, it could predict based on what it has seen on all those other plants. But there are many other factors to consider. So there could be environmental factor, there could be drought, there could be so many factors that could make your result different. So we have to be more careful when we are using AI for scientific research. We don't want to give it, make it just predict, things for us, and we take those on face value, right? So we can use it for scientific research, but we want to be very, very careful when doing that, so that we don't give out, wrong information to, to the audience or to the public. But if you want more research on that, I think OpenAI has just released something very expensive to, but definitely to work for research. Okay, another question. Can this generative AI clean data sets? Because data type will hinder analysis. Data type will hinder analysis. I think that was what happened in the live demo. Uh, so can it clean a data set? It depends on what you want to get out of the data set, right? So definitely it can help you to clean a data set. If you're looking for maybe null values in your data and you give it, you have a sheet that has name, XYZ amount of features, and you want it to clean the data to take out missing values, null values, negative values. For instance, you're not expecting somebody with negative height. People always have maybe height of maybe 1 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet. But in the human, in the height there of a data on human being, you are seeing -2, then that is a dirty or that's a wrong data. So if you want to remove all this kind of bad data, you could actually ask your AI to do that. So it looks through it. We talked about embedding. It looks through your whole data, understands what is wrong and right from what it has understood. Then remove the wrong data for you. Then for our question, I don't think that was a problem. Is the data type, it was just mentioning that as a problem, but that doesn't matter. You can have numerical data, text data, any kind of data, even image data. It can analyze image data for you. So any kind of data set can analyze it. That was not a problem for demo. I think it was just an issue with the system we hosted it from. We used this just recently, and it performed perfectly well. So before this web masterclass, we had already done some back and forth experimenting to ensure it's working perfectly well. But technology can mess you up anytime, any day, and you can't do anything about it. So sorry about that. Oh, all right. So do we have any other questions with regards to AI and what it can do? So do not forget, let me go back to my slide. If you're just starting to learn AI, we've created learning materials on DataWrangle, DataWrangle.com. I just dropped the link here. It works best with your PC, not phone, because you're supposed to write code, learn there. So if you have a laptop, you get the best learning experience with your laptop on DataWrangle. So let me go back to sharing my slide. I think we have done practically at the end of the slides. So our questions, we really want to apologize for the mess up by our AI systems. But I hope we're able to understand what AI is, the capability, and what it can do for us. If you have any other question, please we're entertaining some more questions before we call it a day on the call. We also want to mention that we're starting a course in January, where we go detailed into writing of this code, right? We didn't detail the code for you because maybe you're just starting off. It will be difficult to understand if we start talking about how we're using the functions, how we're calling the functions, and all of those terminologies. So if you want to understand more about data science, AI, basically you can just sign up for the classes starting in January and you get a very detailed training and become like one of the data scientists on the platform here. So, okay, thank you very much, Nkirika, for dropping the link on the call. So you can actually sign up, just indicate your interest there and we'll follow up with you. So if we don't have any more questions, I would like to say a very big thank you for everyone who joined on the call. This was impressive, like my audience participation, and the turnout was really nice. Thank you all for joining the call. Thank you for joining the call. Really appreciate it. We just took a screenshot of our numbers. Thank you very much for joining the call. And if you have any personal questions as well, reach out to me. So I've dropped my mail on the call. If you have any personal questions regarding AI projects, You can send questions to my mail and we'll definitely get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much, Mr. Layo. Thank you very much, Dr. Dilly, and every other person who joined, Mujid, for your time. We'd like to say our goodbyes here, and we'll be sending the slides to you on request, the slides to you on request, the code to you on request, anything that you need, we'll send it to you on request based on how it comes. Thank you very much again once more. Have a very wonderful week, and bye from here.